Hello, friends. We have some exciting news.
Joy and I have started a Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/BokPod. That's BokPod, spelled B-O-C-P-O-D. If you see a cute chick wearing a headset, you know you're in the right place.
We would really appreciate any support you're able to give. If you find you're not able to at the moment, another way you can show your support is by rating us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show, and by following us on Twitter and Facebook.
We're grateful to all of you for listening, regardless of how you choose to support our show. And now, on with the episode.
Hello, friends. It's Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle, and I've seen almost nothing.
I'm Nella, and I drink iced coffee at 8 o'clock at night like a monster.
Meanwhile, Nella's intro will change every time.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
This time I'm the agent of chaos. Thank you very much.
Yes, I will give you this Agent of Chaos title for our podcast. That makes sense.
Speaking of agents of chaos, I noticed how you swear jar.
Yes, we did.
So this is how it's going to be, huh? All right, fine. I can't wait to give all that money to science literacy or something. Some magical nonprofit that's about, like, science.
Mm-hmm.
Actual science.
Actual science. Women in science.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Black women in science, because justice for Astrid.
Justice for Astrid.
Yes. I am behind this 100%. That will be the hashtag of, like, justice for Astrid.
Yeah.
I've just donated X amount of money.
Precisely. I can't wait.
So, friends, for this episode, we watched Fringe Season 1, Episodes 6 through 10, which brings us up to the mid-season finale. And in this one, we learned, we actually met David Robert Jones, learned a little bit more about him. We figured out a little bit more about the mystery with John Scott and Olivia. And we witnessed murder butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
Did we?
That was a thing.
Did we?
We, the audience, did.
Yeah, didn't we? And yet, JJ.
I love the way you say JJ so accusingly.
I have my reasons. I have my reasons.
Well, actually, Nella, if you want to lead us into our first section, which is Fringe Science, or You Have Got to Be Kidding Me.
Oh, my God. All right.
Would you like to talk about the murder butterfly?
Well, I got two things to talk about in this, but let's jump straight to the murder butterflies, okay? Here's the thing. We cold open episode, Episode 9, right? Cold open. Mm-hmm. Here we are. We're at Massive Dynamic. Guy's running late. Had a bad day. But still nails his presentation. Everything's coming up Millhouse. And then butterflies? But then aggressive, cutting butterflies. Really aggressively cutting butterflies. Oh, my Lord. And then the man is like, and I just want to know what this guy's, scene reads were for this. So imagine yourself being attacked by murder butterflies, and I want you to that's great. Throw yourself on the desk, roll around madly. Yeah. His acting is fantastic in this part.
The director is constantly cutting in, more cowbell!
Yeah.
And then, in this panic, instead of running out of the room, he launches himself out of a window. Which, hey, you know what? We all make bad choices when we're in the middle of a panic.
In the cinematography, there is actually a moment where he looks at the door and the butterflies actually swarm and drive him towards the window. The CGI actually glitches a little bit at that point.
Maybe.
You gotta push through the murder butterflies.
Push through the get out. Well, I will also say this might be given all the twisting and turning and falling and everything that was happening, it might have also been a kind of which direction is up situation.
Yeah.
Because the entire office is made out of glass. the wall, the door, the windows. Which way is up?
Go
Just
for the go for the lights. The
lights are outside.
The office lights. No, there is a difference, Danielle, between office lighting and city lighting. I know New York is the city that never sleeps, but there is a difference between the Empire State Building outside my window and a cubicle farm. Just saying. Anyway, so here we are. I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, I can't wait for the scene where Nina Sharp suddenly goes into a room full of people, closes the door, and yells, "Who the swear jar led the murder butterflies out of the lab?" I was ready. Then it turns out, oh no, it wasn't murder butterflies at all. It was psychosomatic.
It was toads.
It was toads. It was time-release toads, which we'll get into in a second.
It was toads.
Why this upsets me. And it's twofold. One, I don't like this thing J.J. Abrams does. I know this isn't like a detective story where all the clues are already there for you. You just had to be paying attention. He doesn't write those kind of stories, so I know that going in. But I also don't like it when a show or a movie straight up lies to me about what happened. They're like, actually, it was this the whole time. Mm-hmm. Because we watched this happen to this guy. Now, if it had been a scene where this guy starts getting cuts all over him, we see him flailing, and then he, like, throws himself out the window, then it'd be like, what the hell just happened? Okay, let's find out what's going on here. But no, we see the butterflies. And the other, no, okay, then maybe you don't have to agree with me on that, and that's fine. But here's what also bothers me about it was psychosomatic. And we as the audience see what he's seeing. When we go to this dude's house, and we determine that he had a big monarch written in his date book, and he has all these butterflies pinned on the wall because he's a collector. And Olivia looks at one and it flutters. And then you tell me, no, it was all in their like. So is Olivia dosed at this point? Is this John Scott giving her a hot tip? Not a great hot tip, John. Could have really spelled it out on this one instead of like, no, it was the butterflies, Olivia, but it wasn't the butterflies. It was actually all in your head, just like me. It's deeply frustrating. I found that the conceit of this deeply, deeply frustrating based on the cold open, based on the and it's a misdirect. It's the misdirect of Olivia seeing the butterfly flutter. It is. It's another lie because it's not butterflies. It has nothing to do with butterflies. The butterflies are a lie. So there's that. I was fine, like psychosomatic to the point where like your skin opens up from the inside out, or you cut you mind cut your own throat. Okay, sure, Jan.
Yeah, that was definitely a sure Jan moment. I did find it funny that it's one of those, like, the thing you're most afraid of is the thing you collect. Like, he's most afraid of butterflies coming and, like, slashing him open.
So he systematically kills and collects them.
I'm imagining this guy getting drunk at a bar and being like, did you know that butterflies are the most dangerous predator in the world? Like, and him having this perception of butterflies, and that's why it was butterflies that killed him, even though, like...
Maybe. I mean, I gotta be honest, growing up, I've known a lot of people who are scared of butterflies.
I mean,
look, people have fear. People have legitimate. But still, a part of me is just like, it's a butterfly. Although that whole scene really made me think of Spirited Away. You know, the scene where like the dragon gets all cut up by little paper bird butterfly things.
Oh yeah, yep.
Made me think of that. So
well, here's the other reason I know a lot of people who, growing up, were afraid of butterflies. It's because there's this Filipino superstition that when someone passes away, they can come back as a butterfly. So, you know, that could be grandma's spirit right over there. And some of
that would freak me out.
Some of the kids I grew up with internalized that as like, oh, how lovely. That's grandma coming to visit. And some kids internalized it as ghost.
Right.
I do think I would be that second child. I feel like my brain would not be. Well, also, there are massive butterflies in this world.
Huge.
That are really big. And I was just instantly like, I would be terrified of one of those flying around. Size of a like bigger than a pigeon. I'd be horrified.
I'd be butterflies scared. That big? That's amazing.
Like the size
there
of your
are butterflies
face.
like
I can have a butterfly cover my whole face. This is the thing that exists in the world.
And that's so frightening to me,
God.
Nella. That is so scary.
I could have a butterfly sitting between my eyes and cover my whole face. That would be the tightest swear jar in the world. That would be so cool.
Masquerade mask.
Yes. Are you kidding me? I want this.
Oh no. And then the rest of the podcast was Nella trying to purchase a very giant butterfly from like the they're basically at the equator. Like, basically, the countries where they are is, like, right smack dab on the equator. And there are these giant frickin' butterflies that are, like, if you put your hands next to each other, palms up, side to side, they're basically bigger than that. Oh, no. Her face. Listener, I wish you could see how excited Nella is. It's like it's Christmas.
I like
and
that
I've just told her Santa's coming.
I like that both ends of the spectrum are represented in this podcast, where Nella finds this delightful and I find it deeply disturbing. Like, they're not supposed to be that big. It's like when you see those bunnies that are so big that people hold them up and they're 50-pound bunnies. I know that they can't hurt me, but bunnies are not supposed to be that big.
Well, no, I would not. No, see, I would not want. I would like those bunny. I'm glad they exist. That bunny turns around and bites you, you're losing like a whole hand. Like, I don't know if you've ever been bitten by a rabbit, but they do not play around.
Their kick is going to be massive because all their muscle is literally in their hind legs.
Yeah, and like a rabbit kick, like, look, I had a regular, normal swear jar bunny, and like sometimes it would kick me, and like especially with those back claws, and I would get like gouged. So I could only imagine the damage like one of those monster buns would do. Like, seriously.
I love that it's like giant butterfly, amazing. Giant rabbit, no, that could...
Scary.
Well, because I've had a rabbit and they could be right bastards, so...
Fair. That's fair. It's fair.
Now, speaking of overlarge animals...
Oh, yeah, let's talk about the parasite. Oh, my God, wait, so this was my note. This was my opening note for this episode. What the swear jar? I'll blow my whole swear jar allowance on the swear jar. What the ever-loving swear jar? That's verbatim.
On the giant centipede?
Yes! Just like, no, horrifying.
I also looked at it, and Nella and I had the same reaction, which basically was, so you just took the fire plant from Mario.
Yes. And you wrapped it around a heart.
And you wrapped it around a heart, and you made it purple.
And then hear me out. They keep the chest open. Like, they know it's in there, and then they keep it open. And I'm like, okay, so already we're, all right, okay.
I mean, he's behind plastic, Nella.
Joy, you are keeping a man's swear jar cavity open in a basement Harvard laboratory where you keep a cow. I don't care how
20
much
feet away, yeah.
Plastic. Where's the sanitation station just outside that plastic? Was you go in and out, checking out the parasite, poking it with prods, seeing what it does next. That man is going to die from sepsis.
It's right next to the cow's trough. It's just
a
farmer's sink.
I love Gene as much as the next
that kitchen.
Cow lover.
It's the kitchen in the back.
Yeah, well, I love Gene as much as any other cow lover, but like... And I know that cow is probably the cleanest cow this side of the Mississippi, but like, no.
Yeah. No, I am with you on that. Did we really have to keep the chest cavity open this entire time, which I believe is something like 2 days straight?
Yeah.
3 days? Right. They open him up in the hospital, and he's still open at Harvard, and he's still open when Olivia goes to Germany, and he's still open when Olivia stays in Germany.
But come on, all that cinematic pulsing, isn't it worth a little bit of wibbly science? This entire episode is wibbly science.
All I can imagine is like, so you
this is true.
You keep him open for 2 days. Like, how does maybe you look, and this is where I'm just like, okay, this is where my medical knowledge, like, I don't have any, but like. You know, you cut yourself, you scab over. Mm-hmm. You crack open someone's chest and leave it open for 2 days. Wouldn't you get, like, scab? Wouldn't things dry up?
Wouldn't you have 6 weeks of rehab minimum for something that coiled itself around your heart?
Well,
like, people have heart attacks.
And then
are basically laid out.
The tendrils have gone through his entire body and then just die.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and I'm just like,
they're still in there.
Now, like, is this like Resident Evil where it's like, and then they die and then they turn to poof powder and they just blow away on the breeze? Like, or is it like, are we monitoring him for blockages? Are we
clearly
is
not.
Is his liver taking care of this? I don't know.
as we find out, Mitchell Loeb is also playing both sides here as a double agent for the baddies. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine what that conversation must have been like with David Robert Jones, where it was like, I'm sorry, you want to do a what? We're going to what? Wait, what? And so then my wife is going to be waiting there with the cure. Oh, no, she's not. Okay. So I'm just going to be open. Just, cool. Great.
I mean, listen, he's a fanatic.
He is a fanatic, which is also why I think, Nella, you had this great comment of like, his chiseled jaw really isn't doing it for me. Yeah. This not John Scott.
Yeah. No, but that's like already, we're not even to the mid-season finale, and already it's just like, if you've got to work this hard to save a blue-eyed, blonde-haired white man in this show, let him die, because he's probably working against you.
Mm-hmm. The odds are not great.
I mean, it's 2 for 2 so far.
Two for two. 2 for 2.
Even money.
Third time's the charm. Maybe the third blue-eyed, blonde-haired words will be fine.
Now I'm trying to remember who the third blue-eyed, blonde-haired person in this show is.
Oh, God, there is another one? You're kidding me.
Sure there
I was
is.
being facetious.
I was about to be like, wait, isn't David Robert Jones? And then I remembered, isn't he like a redhead with green eyes?
I don't
I feel like
know.
he's a redhead. I feel like he's a redhead.
I fully mixed him up with a whole other human, so I don't know what he looks like.
Jared Harris has been in a ton of stuff, but also Jared Harris is a British actor, and sometimes you go, yeah, that British actor, and then you're like, wait, that's the wrong one. And then you start rifling through your Rolodex, and you're like, aha, he's actually this one.
But I would say those are were my two like sciences of the week.
I think for me, and here we go again with like, let's torture some women in our show with like episode 6, where it's like, let's just make some walking, ticking time bombs that basically just turn into giant human microwaves.
Also, the more I think about it,
rough.
The more I think about it, the more where you have the super rare disease that 2 women suffer, and you name it after my favorite brunch drink, feels a little on the nose. Like the Bellini syndrome. Like,
Bellini syndrome.
Excuse you. First off,
is that a commentary on white women? Because I object.
Rude. 1.
Strenuous objection.
2. Both women. And I know this is supposed to be super rare, but it's like, you could have made one a dude. But then, and then also, I mean, it's not great.
I know. But again, now you see why I bounced you around to so many other episodes in the show. But the thing is to really understand the major through lines, you do have to watch the entire show. Mm-hmm. But this was ultimately like, maybe I won't show you this episode where it's like, and again, it's a bunch of women just being tortured.
For the sake of, I think, weapons development, was that eventually what this was?
Because like the client wanted pretty much a walking bomb.
Right.
That
so
you
silly.
could trigger.
Yeah.
That you could trigger safely, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, there are these things called bombs that you can actually just strap to people.
Yeah.
I know. Like, let's look at it in regards to you're a mysterious evil organization that really wants to kill people. But the problem with bombs is that, they blow stuff up.
Yeah.
They destroy. They don't just kill, they destroy. But what if you, hear me out, could make a walking microwave, make everyone's brains explode.
Is this the pitch in the room?
And all you have to worry about is cleaning up some blood. I mean, even the brains explode.
And radiation.
The brains
Thinking
explode within the cranium, and you just have to worry about some goop coming out the noses. Hear me out.
And it's undetectable, presumably.
People will just be like, what's this weird radiation? And you know what? The job's done.
Well, there you go. That's why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
See, sounds pretty lucrative when you put it like that.
I'm so mad I didn't actually write down that doctor's name, the guy who plays the doctor.
Sanjay Patel?
Yeah, Dr. Patel.
No, Sanjay Patel, first of all, justice for Sanjay Patel.
Oh, yeah. Well,
oh boy. No, the white doctor.
Yeah.
Now I don't know which doctor you're talking about.
Well, so I was, what is his name? What's his name?
Oh,
which who?
Wait, is it the tech guy, David Esterbrook?
David Estabrook.
No, the pharmaceutical guy. Like the pharmaceutical research
pharmaceutical,
guy.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pharmaceutical guy. I thought it was very funny because I've really only ever seen him on Gilmore Girls.
Oh, Lord.
Where he plays a love interest in a comedy. So it was really, like, I had sort of forgotten that because I think the last time I rewatched Fringe, I had not seen Gilmore Girls. So I had a whole moment where I was like, oh, this is a very bizarre tonal shift. Mm-hmm. from one to the other. Whoops. But yes, we discussed in which we meet Mr. Jones, Mario Brothers villain.
Yep. Well,
bizarre
okay.
science. Well,
So,
we also
in
did
terms of
have
bizarre
talk to a
science-
dead guy.
I mean, but
We did.
talking to dead guys is old news for me in this show. Whatever.
Well, okay, so there's a couple of pieces here because we find out Walter did this to Peter. That Walter would just shock him.
Yep.
Oh, that he
swear jar.
experimented on
batteries.
Peter as a child. Yes.
Yeah, that he experimented on Peter as a child. Mm-hmm. I think that's important to note.
Yes. It is very important. I think it's nice that they let us into that part of their relationship because the way that they set up Walter in this show, it's so easy to be only sympathetic of him. And then when you see Peter rebelling against him and Peter getting mad at him, then it paints Peter as the bad guy. So it's like they need to show us that side of Walter to understand why Peter is so resistant to reforming this relationship with him and why Peter is so resistant to letting Walter into his life.
We can have bad parents that we don't want to have relationships with without, and then he literally electroshocked me as a kid.
But what we know about Walter, that's consistent with what we know of him, unfortunately. He's kind of a monster. I mean, that's why in episode 1 of this show, Peter says he's one of the worst people I know.
Yeah.
I think, not verbatim, but essentially.
I think I agree with both viewpoints. I don't know that we necessarily needed Walter to be an abusive father, but it definitely makes sense with what they've set up. I mean, like, we were talking in the last episode how, like, yeah, this guy was a test subject and Walter barely blinks. And he's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. What I would have been giving him, that totally makes sense. He has no remorse for the thing he did.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, yeah, of course you tested crap on your son. Of course you did.
Right.
Like, you were a warm body.
I mean, but then, I mean, it adds the extra tragedy of, like, look, I haven't gotten to the point of when Peter's mom dies or whatever, but, like, it does make you go, like, where was his mom in this? Like, was this, like, why stuff went bad? Like, it does, and it does make you ask more questions about, like, his relationship with his wife. What was going on? Like,
Yeah. I do think it's the first time we saw the Polaroid and how all of that worked, which I thought was interesting. But it's, again, another episode where, like, Peter knows a thing that he couldn't possibly know, which I kind of love because it's like Peter is this weird conduit
Oh, yes.
of weird, of fringe science.
yeah.
He is just a fount of fringe science all by himself.
He reads books.
And that's all you need.
Character who reads. Every now and then you enter a scene and the character rolls lore. And then you see whether they know the thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes he rolls high and sometimes he rolls low.
This is 100% that moment. Well, okay. I feel like we need to talk.
I didn't get to talk about the pseudoscience I did not like.
Well, is it episode 8? Because I was going there.
It is in episode 8. And I don't even know if it counts as science. You two can tell me whether this counts as a science thing I don't like. But the thing that bugs me the most about this episode is the trope they lean into with the little kid.
Oh, yeah.
And how he gets in this accident, he gets into a coma, and all of a sudden, he's a music prodigy.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. Does that count as science?
I mean, it's a phenomenon that can happen with strokes and stuff like that. I mean, it is something like where people wake up and they have mastered languages, or like they wake up and they can just like play an instrument that they've never been able to play before, and that is tied to brain damage.
I don't know. There is, like, I am sometimes very fascinated by the things that come out of trauma that people develop. Like, I think, again, it just serves the fringe science of it all. If you survive a trauma and then you have a glimpse into something bigger than yourself, and then other people will want to cultivate that. Personally, I really hated the villain in that episode because it's literally just a woman who's putting together an equation based on these trauma survivors and the things that they do. Mm-hmm. One person of whom, by the way, I love the actor very, very much, Randall Duke Kim, who I think I first saw him in The Matrix, and I just absolutely adore him anytime I see him. Not super here for Dashiell Kim in general. I feel like we could have done a little bit more with Dashiell Kim that wasn't quite where they went with it, but it's fine. Mm-hmm. It's happened. We're past it. I did appreciate that there is a whole conversation of like Walter going back into St. Clair's to try and like, this is the first time we see Walter actually put himself in harm's way for someone else in the entire time we've known Walter. You make these assumptions that he's doing certain things, and like he tells the story about Peter and him falling into the ice, but we don't actually get to see any of that in his day to day. And right. I felt so bad for Walter.
I did.
This episode.
This was a great Walter episode. It was a great Walter-Peter episode, too, because I like that Peter tried to stand up for Walter, and then Walter called him out for the way that Peter was standing up for him. You know, talking about Walter as if he weren't in a room and not allowing Walter to have any agency when what Walter wants to do is go in there and save the boy.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure he only did because the boy reminded him of Peter, but fine.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I know.
And yeah, back to your point, Danielle, of like, Peter is always an eternal child. And that definitely tracks here.
I want to know how much money this psych hospital gets by keeping Walter, because that director sure was pushing hard to keep Walter there. And I'm like, okay, how much are you skimming off the top, sir? Like how much money do you get paid for someone like Walter? And how much do you pocket? Because he was real aggressive about it. And I never buy I don't know. I don't think you're capable of taking care of your father.
Yeah.
Like, no. You're getting something from keeping Walter here.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
No, shifty as hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially given the nature of some of the other patients that were in the institution, like Dash, who had that special classification all to himself. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I know. People in that particular institution are technically criminally insane because, again, Walter was in there initially because somebody died in his lab.
Yes.
Yep.
And, he committed some other small atrocities here and there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my personal headcanon is like, someone was finally able to nail something on him. Meanwhile, they've had like a folder on him as long as my arm, and they were like, we've been trying to get him for years, and somebody finally died. We got it.
It's like getting what's his name on tax evasion. Absolutely, that's what it is.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly what this is.
The Al Capone of fringe science.
The Al Capone of fringe science. But yes, so because of the equation that they're... Oh, yeah. I mean, this was also another weird episode of like the green, red?
Mm-hmm. The Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Yes, the Christmas lights. So I had to keep my face from speaking when we saw Attack Eyebrows in the last 5 episodes.
Oh,
because
right.
on his little cap, he has green, red.
Yeah.
And I had a whole moment where I was like, oh no, that's a thing. Wait.
Yeah.
An Easter egg. I see it.
An Easter egg.
Yeah, while we were watching it, Joy was like, remember green, red? And I was like, oh no.
But yes, so because of the equation that they're able to extract from this poor small boy hooked up to this machine, they get an equation that basically changes the molecular physics of... Actually, I just remembered your favorite quote, Nella, and I don't know if you just remembered it, but I remember which one you wanted to write down at the time. But the 10th episode, which is called Safe, which is the mid-season finale, we get to see a couple of bank robbers.
No, I wrote it down. I wrote it down.
Yeah, there you go.
But explain.
What's the favorite quote?
Oh, you violated the laws of physics, Mr. Eastwick, and Mother Nature is a bitch.
Yes.
Best
Yes.
Peter line. Best
That
Peter
is a
line.
great Peter line.
It's so good. It's so good because also he's like, all I have to do is sit here. All I have to do is sit here. Right now you're in the walking ghost phase.
Yeah, it's so good.
All I have to do is sit here and let the radiation eat you alive, man. That's it.
Some real Chernobyl vibes, speaking of.
Delicious.
Yes. Maybe we should eventually watch Chernobyl for this show.
That's so painful.
It's a lot, though. No, it's a lot.
That's
It's
a lot.
It's a lot. But yeah, so they're breaking into all these safes, and then in the middle of the episode, Olivia also mentions that she has this photographic memory, which the show kind of plays with. Sometimes it's photographic, and sometimes it's just like really good at that memory game and making connections. But she mentions the numbers of the safes, which leads them to Walter and his Fibonacci sequence of the safes, which I was like, I also don't know very much about deposit, like boxes. Savings deposit. Yeah, I don't know a lot about deposit boxes. I didn't know those numbers went up that high.
I think it depends on the bank.
I guess it depends on the bank.
And also, Walter was going around trying to find the places that had that particular number available.
Of course.
He would. He is exactly that obsessive.
Like, hello, I would like to open a safety deposit box of this number. No, it has to be this number. You don't have it.
He's probably holding a pastry during this conversation.
Can I have one of these lollipops?
Exactly.
I don't like the green ones, but I do like the blue. And then he leaves.
And then he leaves. That's it. That was it. That was how he found all these banks. Now, it's not one of my favorite quotes, but one of my favorite moments is where they're trying to figure out which bank he got another one in. Mm-hmm. And Peter is asking him the question, and Walter is like, I'm so sorry, son, I just don't remember. And then Peter's like, hang on a second, Olivia. Hey, Walter, if I was to get a bank in Connecticut, where should I...
Yeah.
If I was to get a safety deposit box in Connecticut, which bank should I choose? And he was like, oh, yeah, this bank. It's the only one with safety deposit box big enough for my services. And then he takes a beat and he goes, oh, well done, son.
Yeah. Very clever. Peter putting that Walter knowledge to work.
It is. It's a good Peter scene because we know Peter is really good at reading people, at manipulating people, at getting them to reveal their tells. And so getting to see him use it on his father instead of just getting frustrated, is really great. I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is the entire reason he was brought onto this team.
I know.
Because he is the Walter Whisperer.
To speak Walter. You were brought on here to speak Walter, and that's pretty much it.
The book knowledge is just like this nice little cherry on top. It's the gravy.
It is. It is the gravy. Although I will say my favorite...
but...
It's the magic sauce. My favorite quote was also from this episode, which is when Walter walks back to his bed after realizing that these safety deposit boxes are his, and he takes a powder, puts it in his water, and drinks it. And Peter is just like, what medication was that, Walter? And Walter swallows, takes a breath, and goes, supplements. and then a long exhale. And I was just like, that was not a vitamin.
Yeah. Not a vitamin. And I love that his body language just switches instantaneously.
And then he's stoned for the next 10 minutes episode
great.
time.
Yeah.
It was such an extra moment.
Yeah.
I liked episode 10. I liked the beats of the episode. I remember watching it for the first time as everything was happening and being surprised at every turn of it. Maybe that was just me, but I loved it.
I love how it opens with you moron. Leave the magnetic
Nella
rope.
had a moment with this opening.
So here's the cold opening for this episode. Come with me on this journey. They're robbing a bank, and they're using, this whole other episodes, ever since the equation, we've set up that this equation allows you to pretty much create a vibration that allows you to pass through solid objects. You get to, play act as Kitty Pryde. It's great. But you're breaking the laws of physics, so it only works for so long. And so you got to time it very carefully. And also, it kind of causes radiation. But no problem. We could work around that. So we have this, this team of goons. Like, oh, you morons. All right. So then they're breaking into the bank. Oh, God, right? So they're breaking into the bank. You know, they got the team. They got the timing. They got a magnetic rope to help pull them through. Because you need that, I guess. And so they take what they need from the safety deposit box. And then one guy, bless, decides it's more important to detach the magnetic rope, which he's having trouble with, than to get back through the wall. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Okay, like, in the diminishing returns of you not getting away cleanly, sure, a magnetic rope, people will know somehow magically you broke in. People are going to look at that magnetic rope passing through the wall and be like, what happened here? Like, and then they're going to realize you stole something. But the thing is, unless you've been touching it with your, ungloved hands, there's no way to trace you. But on the whole, you'll have a much better getaway than leaving a body in the wall. Which they do.
I think that he just...
with a bullet in his head.
Then they kill the guy because it's like, well, if he's dead, he can't talk. And I'm like, and then, of course, the first thing that happens is Olivia recognizes him. And by Olivia, I mean John Scott's memories recognize the guy. So there's that. So already, great, we've got a real good lead now. Is that what you wanted? Probably not. Next time...
I love the little scene where she reveals to Peter and Walter that is how she recognized Lugo. Yeah. And Walter goes, I don't understand that. I need to look into that.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty problematic.
Yeah.
You know what? I just maintain that Lugo is an optimist, and he really thought that he'd be able to get out. He was very close. He was very close to getting out. Look, he did not know there would be half a body left in that wall.
All right, friends, here's the thing. If we ever do a bank heist that requires us to pass through a solid wall using a magical equation, sure. And if I tell you, whatever you leave on the other side, leave it, you have to get out. Either stay inside or get out. Do not get caught in between. Listen to me, please. Please just listen. Like... leave the rope behind. Just do it. Please just do it.
Mm-hmm. Terribly, I bet the blue-eyed, blonde-haired individual whose name I'm blanking on at the moment.
He's the John Walker of John Scott's. Like he's Walmart Captain America. He's like that useless. He thinks he's all that, but he's like. He's the worst. Whatever.
This was likely the better result for him than Lugo being trapped inside the safe, just 100% alive. Because this way, at least, Loeb got to shoot Lugo.
But they still put it together. It's like, okay. I know. So, like...
well, the piece that he was missing is that they'd be able to question someone who was shot in the head.
I mean, but still, like, all right. So, but then you establish that this guy is, like, a Marine... He was doing it for money. Like, no, of course, the thing is, he would also be suffering from the radiation. So, like, then you'd have a guy trying to hold it together, getting visibly sick within, like, the interrogation room. And then you're like, why the hell is this guy dying of radiation poisoning? Now, here's the thing. Does he talk or does he not? I don't know. I feel like there could have been some really interesting drama if he had been stuck on the inside and then being like... no, but imagine that cold open where it's just like, gotta go open the safety deposit. There's a guy in here. And he looks, what? And then he tries to escape. And then maybe he does escape, or then they have to chase him down. It's like, okay, no, seriously, how did you break in? There's no evidence of it. And he's like, I'll never tell you, as like blood is seeping from his nose. I don't know. I feel like we could have had a good interrogation bit. Like,
we could have, thankfully, though.
You open up the safe and Peter just sits there and stares at him? I don't know. I don't think our buddy who died in the wall would break that easily.
The writers wanted you to have both, because we still got the interrogation radiation scene. It's
the writers wanted the body horror of being like
half trapped in a wall.
Yeah.
Half trapped in a wall. I mean, it definitely leaves an impression
Much
Leaves an
like
impression for
the
sure.
David Robert Jones setup where they show all of those scenes with him and the lawyer asking for the suntan
Oh my
lotion
God, I know.
and the suit, and then the next time the lawyer comes back. Actually, I'm pretty sure even watching it the first time, I was thinking, dude, there's a reason there he's asking for your measurements. There's a reason he's asking you for the suit. You got
Yeah.
and then
I know,
and then
I
the
know.
thing happens. It was still sudden. It still surprised me.
Although I was the whole episode, I was staring at that lawyer guy, being like, "Where do I know you from?" And then I realized
I know him from
it's from Star Trek Discovery. It's it's the galaxy's worst father, Ambassador Sarek of Vulcan. I have a running joke about how Ambassador Sarek of Vulcan is like the worst father, and yet somehow people keep giving him children to raise. And I'm like, why?
And Nella and I just scream into the void of like, why are you still giving Sarek children? Who decided this was a good idea?
And not only that, giving him human children.
Human children. Worst idea ever.
Terrible idea. What a terrible, terrible idea.
So I think that brings us to one more thing. Does everybody have a one more thing?
Look,
Should we skip
Charlie,
it?
still MVP of the episode. Can I just say, my beautiful son, Charlie. Okay, so in episode 8, you know, when we have this like woman torturing a child trying to get the equation, Charlie, out of nowhere, goes, "We know she doesn't have a twin because we checked." Because Charlie of the Fringe division dots those I's and crosses those T's. You got me once with a twin, but never again. never again.
He learns from his mistakes.
Yes. Although I'm still just really not here for everything they're doing with Astrid. Mm-hmm. It's really, really bugging me a lot. I mean, there's this whole bit about like, no, I won't brush the cow's teeth. I have important work. I have actual work to do, or whatever she says.
I have real work to do. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yes, because you're an actual card-carrying federal agent.
Yes.
Who's being treated like an intern. And I hate it.
They only use her when they, I don't know, when they've run out of other options, I guess. Like when they randomly decide she's a cryptography expert in one of the episodes.
I know. I hate it.
Which is question mark tangential to linguistics, which is what she majored in, question mark.
Sure.
I don't know.
Like she talks about doing code breaking like as a kid.
Yes.
And all I can think of is like, maybe as you got older, it was like, well, I don't know if I can fashion code breaking into a skill that's marketable. Maybe I'll go into linguistics instead. And then she became an FBI agent, where I guess both of those skills are helpful.
And then she was given the worst assignment in the world, which is being Walter's lab assistant.
I know.
Poor Astrid.
In other news, I was really excited to see them filming in the Park Avenue Armory in episode 6.
Oh yes, that's right.
I used to work there, and I was like, I know that hall!
She did. She sat bolt upright and went, that's the armory!
I know. And what's funny is I recognized the staircase, and because I went up and down the staircase so many times in the years I was there, like right up to the point where it's just like, I once fell down those stairs, like total tumble, like head over swear jar. Landed in like a stand, even like I stuck the landing. It was fantastic. But yeah, so I know that, and I think they would have been filming when I was working there, which I find hilarious.
That's amazing. Oh, you narrowly missed seeing these people in person.
I know. I was this close.
Is my one more thing just? Is it allowed to be the chemistry between Peter and Olivia?
Oh, it's
Of
so
course.
good. It's so good.
Of course it is. That's perfectly viable. Which
I can't even name one singular quote because it's just every time they're in a scene or in conversation together. I think that my notes at the end of episode 6, yes, my notes at the end of episode 6 just say Peter and Olivia. How?
So you know that
How? Because they're just having a regular conversation.
So you know that bar scene in episode 10 where they're trying to get information
Love
from the
the bar scene.
barkeeper, and she's like,
Love
"This
it.
me and my brother," and I'm like,
His face!
But after, as soon as she says it, neither of them act like siblings, and it feels so Rent, like, "Hey, Mister, she's my sister." Like it's super uncomfortable. I would be really uncomfortable if I was that bartender.
Peter's face when she says my brother is my favorite thing, and then
I know.
I also kind of love his genuine reaction to the fact that she knows a card trick.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Women never know card tricks.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. No,
that is honestly my favorite. My one more thing is actually the card trick that Olivia shows him, and he's like, oh, "You can count cards."
Yeah, he's so excited. I love it.
So excited.
He's so excited. Well, it's when it like this is also the woman who like nailed him and made him come back from a bad situation and like is keeping him here to like help with his dad. And meanwhile, it's like, oh. You know a slightly nefarious thing.
Yeah. No, it's organic and it's sweet and I really like it. Like, and they're both, and even in more serious news, like her opening up to him about her childhood and her stepfather and the abuse that her mother suffered, like, and having this really vulnerable moment, and like it feels really powerful and just like. Yeah, like these characters are legitimately written like they like each other, like they're coming to respect each other, and that they are into each other, and like it's just nice to see, and I can't wait for them to ruin it for me somehow, because I'm just like, this is too good. You're gonna ruin it for me.
Do you have any do you have any other predictions, Nella? Have your previous predictions changed? Are you adjusting the lens?
No, I still feel pretty confident about my calls about when Charlie dies. I still feel pretty confident about like we're gonna have that good Liv and Peter, and then the show is going to ruin it all. Like it's gonna be the one night, and then it's gonna or something, or just on the cusp, like just the tip of happiness, and then like they're gonna rip it away from me.
This is the show that would do that to you, though.
This is the show.
I'm not gonna lie.
Of all shows, it's this show.
Look, I'm girding my loins, so
as well.
Getting
you should.
ready for the emotional pain that is the rest of this series.
And can we just talk about that mid-season like finale?
Yes.
So now Liv is kidnapped. So
I love that Broyles immediately calls Nina.
Yes,
immediately.
I know.
And Nina is so offended
because Nina Sharp is that swear jar.
When he picks up the phone, not even hello, just need I even ask?
Well, here's the thing, Nina, darling, sweetie, precious, Bubba. When you're the shadiest swear jar in the room, and our star, agent goes missing. Yeah, we're all gonna look at you like you're the dog who did something on the floor and is looking at us like, what, me? No, Nina, honey, no.
Wait,
why wouldn't it be you?
Speaking of your MVP, wasn't it so sad when, she's running out of the car because there's nothing else she can do, and you can just hear Charlie going, where are you? What's your 20?
Yeah, I know.
No!
Although I do find it funny that, and this doesn't happen in the last episode, but when they're chasing that bad guy and whatever, but like I do enjoy that she has Kevlar, but for her it's very fitted Kevlar.
Yes, she has very fitted Kevlar vest.
Yeah,
and I was like, huh. I was because they're all getting out, like everyone's big and bulky, and I was just like, Olivia, where's your vest? Where's your vest? And then she closes the car door, and I was like, oh.
It's very neatly tailored. It's kind of amazing, actually. But anyway. No, so I really can't wait to see what happens next, because I need my girl back.
Is that the end of the episode?
And I think that is. I think it is.
I think that's it.
All right.
Okay. With that, listeners, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, if you could wake up from a coma with a special skill, what skill would you like to have? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com.
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the murdered butterflies in your life that don't actually exist about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.
let's say that you've been poisoned by toads that give you psychosomatic visions. What would you see and why?
Oh no.
What is your biggest fear? What is your biggest psychosomatic fear?
Psychosomatic fever dream. Tell us, please.
How about this? If you could wake up as a prodigy of something, what would it be?
Oh.
How about that?
Languages.
Well, you're just gonna have to tweet at us, Nella, and let us know.
Oh, you're gonna make me use Twitter?
You don't have to use Twitter. You can use Facebook.
Here, I'm tweeting at you. It would be languages. There, I tweeted. A verbal tweet.